Welcome back to another GDI Consulting BidCast. We're the proposal writing firm that loves to dig into major federal opportunities. And boy, do we have a big one today. We're doing a strategic teardown of the VA's massive new Enterprise Design-Build MATOC. Let's get into it.
So let's just start with the number that's got everybody talking. $7.5 billion. That is the ceiling the VA has put on this new national construction contract. It's what's known as a MATOC, a multiple award task order contract. And it is, without a doubt, a monumental opportunity for anyone in this industry.
So that's the prize, right? But the real question is, how do you actually win it? Let me be clear, this proposal is incredibly complex. Simply being compliant, just checking the boxes, is the bare minimum. That's not going to be enough to get you an award. Winning your share of this thing requires a super focused, evidence-based strategy designed to squeeze out every single possible point. And that is exactly what we're going to break down for you right now. All right, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the key facts of the opportunity itself. Then we'll dig into the critical proposal volumes, the admin stuff, your experience, and your past performance. We'll wrap up with pricing and small business, and finally, talk about your next strategic move. Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1, the opportunity. This is an IDIQ, which stands for Indefinite Delivery, Indefinite Quantity. You can think of it as a huge contract vehicle that the VA is going to use for all sorts of projects down the line. Nailing these fundamentals is step 1 in building that winning strategy. So here are the vitals. It's a 5-year contract designed to cover pretty much the full spectrum of VA design and construction work all across the country. But the key detail you really need to pay attention to is the competition structure. It is split into 2 distinct pools. You've got a partial set-aside, just for service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, and then you have a separate, unrestricted pool for the larger firms. The NAICS code for all of this is 236220, and that comes with a $45 million size standard. All right, let's talk about Volume I. You need to think of this as the ultimate administrative gate check. It is strictly pass/fail. And if you get this part wrong, I promise you, your beautiful, brilliant technical proposal will never even see the light of day. The whole point of Volume 1 is for you to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are a responsible contractor with the financial muscle to actually do the work. Before the government invests a single second evaluating your experience, they need to know you're a safe bet. This section is all about them mitigating their risk. And this table right here, this highlights one of the biggest hurdles right out of the gate, your bonding capacity. Just look at the massive difference in the requirements between the SDVOSB set-aside and the unrestricted pools. For a lot of companies, this single factor is probably going to be the main decider on which competition you can even realistically go after. Okay, now we are getting to the absolute heart of this evaluation, Volume 2. This is where you prove your experience, and it's all about something called the self-scoring matrix. This is not about writing a nice story. It's about providing cold, hard, verifiable proof to justify the score that you give yourself. This is a direct quote pulled straight from the RFP, and you need to burn it into your brain. The burden of proof is on you. You can't just say you did something. You have to provide crystal clear, verifiable evidence for every single point you claim. If the evaluator can't find your proof easily, you don't get the points. Simple as that. I really want to drive this home. This is not a subjective evaluation where you hope the reviewer likes your narrative. No, this is a quantitative assessment. It's a math problem. You score your own company based on up to 22 projects you submit. The government's only job is to check your math and verify your proof. Your entire proposal strategy has to revolve around maximizing this score. Now this is where it gets really interesting. This chart basically gives you the cheat codes for your strategy. It tells you exactly what the VA cares about most. Just look at that point allocation. With 88 points on the table, the sheer dollar value, the magnitude of your projects, is by far the biggest factor. Managing lots of subcontractors is a strong second with 50 points. This chart tells you exactly which of your projects should be front and center. So with all that in mind, how in the world do you pick your best 22 projects? You have to be incredibly strategic about it. You start by picking the projects that will max out those high-value categories first, magnitude and subcontractors. Then you use your leftover project slots to make sure you're covering all 10 of the required construction program areas. And finally, you have to meticulously map every single claim in the cross-reference matrix. Okay, let's stick with Volume 2, because there's another huge piece to this puzzle: past performance. And here's the critical thing you need to understand. These two factors are linked. The government is going to evaluate your past performance using the exact same 22 projects that you just so carefully selected for your experience.
So you've got two ways to prove how great you are on those projects. For any government work, you'll use your CPARS reports. Think of these as the government's official report cards. For any commercial work, you'll use something called a Past Performance Questionnaire, or a PPQ. Now here's a key detail you can't miss. With PPQs, you send the form to your client, but they have to send it directly to the government. That means you are responsible for following up, and you have to be proactive about it.
This table, wow, this shows you just how ruthless the scoring is. Your average rating across all your projects, exceptional, very good, gets converted directly into points. The difference between an average of very good and an average of exceptional is a whopping 150 points. And look at the bottom. If your average rating dips below satisfactory, you are deemed unacceptable and completely ineligible for an award. You just fall off a cliff, period. All right, we are in the home stretch. Let's quickly touch on the last two volumes. Now, these aren't scored in the same way your experience is, but they are absolute, no-nonsense compliance gates that can get you thrown out of the competition if you get them wrong.
So for the bigger companies competing in the unrestricted pool, your small business plan is a mandatory pass/fail grade. And for everyone, the price volume is another one of those black and white knockout factors. You have to submit not to exceed labor rates for every single required category. If you miss even one, the government can, and probably will, reject your entire proposal. It's really that simple. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So what's the big takeaway from all this? How do you actually position your company to win a piece of this $7.5 billion pie?
Look, if you remember just one thing from this whole teardown, let it be this. Winning this contract is not a compliance exercise. It is a strategic game. It requires you to meticulously comb through your portfolio, select your absolute best projects, provide undeniable proof for every single claim, and leverage the scoring system to your maximum advantage. Success here is all about the details of your execution. We put together this strategic overview independently right here at GDI Consulting to give you a head start. If this all sounds like a lot, well, it is, but you don't have to go it alone. If you want to make sure your team is perfectly positioned for a win on this massive opportunity, our experts can help you build that winning strategy. Just contact us for a free, totally confidential consultation on this specific RFP. The email is info@gdiwins.com.